Hello. Good evening, everyone. I am so excited to be joining you tonight. We are live on a couple of different platforms for actually the first time. We've got here the Craft and Calling show. We've got the Foundation First Marketing show, the Knowing show. And we're doing an integration here because this topic touches every single one of our lives, how to live like the top 1%. And this is something that I am ever striving to do. And I think this is something that, frankly, every single one of us wants to do. We want to, it's not just live like the top 1%, like everybody else, but how do we tap into our own greatest potential? And so this evening's show is going to be a little bit different than others that we do because we are integrating a couple different communities here. We're talking to folks who are in the trades as well as the rest of us on the Knowing show. And we're taking an interesting perspective as I was preparing for the show tonight. One of the things that we talk about for those of you who are new to the Knowing show, particularly in the trades, what we talk about here on the Knowing show is we talk about our four intelligences, effectively each part that constitutes the human intelligence. We have spent so much time throughout our entire lives to cultivate the intellectual intelligence, our IQ. And very rarely do we spend as much time and as much attention honoring and tending to our emotional intelligence, our physical intelligence, and our spiritual intelligence. And so a lot of times for example, on the Craft and Calling and Foundation First Marketing show, we talk about the IQ. We also talk about artificial intelligence. But talking about the whole full spectrum of what constitutes the human intelligence is so incredibly important to cultivate, especially as we have this AI technology, artificial intelligence that we're coming up against. And it's taking our jobs in so many ways, and it has a lot of power and is forcing this kind of existential reckoning where we're looking at ourselves and saying, what makes us different? In fact, some people are even looking at AI technology and saying, look, this thing seems to be somewhat conscious. And so it is beyond me by far and beyond my pay grade to explain the depth and breadth of AI. What I do focus on, though, is how we can, as the human beings, cultivate ourselves to the greatest possible potential. And this conversation tonight, how to live like the top 1%, is not, again, to mirror what other people are doing. Yes, we can learn from them, but how do we tap into our own greatest potential for the sake of living a life that we're proud of, for the sake of the legacy we're going to leave behind? Because every single moment of every single day, we're building a legacy. And there's something to this that is really important. This is kind of counterbalancing last night. Today's Thursday. Last night was Wednesday, and we're starting to do trivia night every single Wednesday and just game night in general, because having fun to counterbalance some of these more serious topics is just so incredibly important for you and me to make sure that we're tending to and kind of taking care of ourselves. Earlier this week, I had a conversation on the Knowing show surrounding how do you recharge? And we actually analyzed how we recharge in each category. Intellectually, how do we recharge? Emotionally, spiritually, physically. And so while IQ, intellectual intelligence, is one such intelligence that we've cultivated and spent so much time tending to, let's say, when we look at the emotional intelligence, that was something that has been and is still massively under cultivated for so many of us. In fact, I was on the other side of emotions are weakness, and I didn't understand that you could actually incorporate EQ, truly emotional intelligence, to amplify human relationships and the way that we engage and the way, honestly, we lead. The more I'm learning about emotional health, the more I'm learning about emotional intelligence, the more I'm seeing it as like really truly the thread through the fabric of what constitutes relationships and leadership and business. So much of what we engage in our lives is on the backbone of relationship and therefore requiring emotional intelligence. But we're not taught that in schools. We're not taught how to engage in a way where we're coming from a place that's authentic, but also engaging with empathy and not acting as mini narcissists like we were when we were kids, screaming for attention and wanting everyone to love us. And so how do we kind of tend to that fine balance of really being authentic, knowing who we are, not living in reaction to who everyone else says we should be, but then also engaging with real empathy to sit in someone else's shoes, to see the world through their eyes. So that's IQ, EQ, and then we get to physical intelligence. Physical intelligence is best described in the book by Bessel van der Kolk. He is the psychologist who actually coined the term post-traumatic stress disorder. And this book is it's dense, it's hard to read, and so incredibly good. It's hard to read for many different reasons. It's painful. You know, he's talking about these people who have gone through so much trauma in their lives, from literally being on the battlefield in Vietnam, because those were some of his major subject matters that he was looking and examining. Like, why are these men and women freaking out? You know, just being totally fine. And then all of a sudden, one slight little thing happens, and then they're set off because their body takes them back to being in the war. And until Bessel van der Kolk's book came out, until his research and his study was completed, and I'm sure along the way this was being kind of leaned into as well, and things were changing, but people were being put in mental hospitals because they didn't know what to do when somebody was triggered and when somebody had a post-traumatic stress disorder. And so it wasn't just people in the war that were coming out of the war who would have these flashbacks and then very big mental reactions, but there were stories about a woman who, you know, her son, she was driving and they got into a terrible accident, and her child was like pinned under the car. And so there's these really, really tragic things that happen to all of us in so many different ways. And so then it's, how does our body remember things that our brain isn't even remembering here in this moment, but our body remembers? Our body keeps a score. And then our bodies throw our minds back and our emotions back to a moment that's not happening right now. But for so many literally biological things happening to us, we literally cannot control our nervous system because it's throwing us back in time. So that's physical intelligence. The spiritual intelligence side, it's like when you and I have this inner knowing and we're like, I don't know how I know this, but I do. And that's akin to getting some kind of spark of divine revelation or just intuition, where it's, I don't know how I know, but I do. And so tonight, when we're talking about how to live like the top 1%, how to live tapping into the fullness that we possibly can for our own selves, and truly stepping into that upper echelon for our own, you and I, unique beings, we're going to examine each one of these intelligences. How do we do that in each category? Because just like how we recharge in particular ways, we also have kind of a 1%. I'm operating in my top 1% mentally when I do X habit or Y habit. Same thing spiritually and same emotionally and physically. So before we dive in, I am going to just give a quick shout out to friends here in the chat. Wayne, good to see you. Hello. Man in the Hat, good evening, Tips Hat. Mobin, hello. Greetings from Iran, my sister. Good luck on YouTube. Keep up the good work. Thank you. I'm so glad you're here. Sacha, hello. Benjamin, mighty, mighty knight. I love it. Hi there. My name is Reese Clark. Reese, I'm so glad to see you. Sacha, hi from ChatGPT. That's curious. Hi on earth to motivate youth. Oh, I love that handle. Hello, Sakil. Hello, thank you for joining. I'm doing so good. I'm excited for I'm so excited for tonight's conversation. Honestly, I think that this is going to be a good one. Muhand, I am not AI. Sacha, I'm AI model. Interesting. I don't know if this what's going on there, but I'm glad you're here regardless. Jim Duggan. I could have been killed 39 times. Interesting. I'm not sure what happened to you, but I'm so glad you're here and I'm so glad you're alive. Rajat, good to see you. Rodsan, good night from Spain. Hello. I love this. Man in the Hat, your spiritual intelligence should be the first step and allow it to lead your other intelligences. That's such a good perspective. Love Skin Case, hello. Mayhem, good evening. Thank you for joining. Mr. Onan, hello. Love Skin. Okay, y'all, I'm super excited for this conversation tonight. We're going to start off with just really diving into there's 4 different categories: physical, emotional, spiritual, and intellectual about what we cultivate. And I'm going to start with the physical intelligence because, and frankly, here's the thing, this is where I'd love to actually hear from you guys, because every single one of us has different parts of our lives that we tend to that really, really serve us in different ways. So when it talks about operating at our 1%, it's going to look different for every single one of us. So I would love to hear, each one of us is going to have practices that really serve us in so many ways, and we get to serve each other. And this is partially why we do this knowing community, is so that we really can give. Each one of us is a teacher. Each one of us has something to offer that is effectively like unique and kind of special to us, that we know, that we've experienced. Personal experience is by far one of the most important things in our lives. And when we get to share it, it can really make a big impact for other people. So I would love to hear from you guys physically. What are the number one things? Maybe give me 2 or 3 things that have really, really made an impact for you physically. And so while I'm waiting here in the chat to hear from you guys, I'm going to give you all one of mine first, and then we'll kind of keep moving forward. So one of mine too that has really helped me kind of operate in my number 1%, and this is something that I've learned in many, many books from, those who are other classified, who really are like the top 1%, habits. Maintaining my mornings. My mornings have been probably the most important number one thing for me that has really, really helped me to operate at my highest level and at my biggest and most potent potential. There's a book called The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. And what they talk about is effectively identifying the one thing, the lead domino in your life, that if you were to tip that over, everything else in your life would be impacted and potentially changed for the better. And the thing that's interesting is that in the mathematical equation, if enough dominoes are lined up, they have the power to, just by hitting that first one, has the power to have the strength and velocity to knock down the Eiffel Tower if you've got enough dominoes, like literally mini dominoes. If you line up enough of them, they can knock down the Eiffel Tower, which the math kills me. And y'all, that's the thing. There are big goals and big dreams that we have. We were talking this morning on the Knowing Show about how, Martin Luther came in and he just his phrase, "I have a dream." Each one of us, if we really, really lean into it, has a dream, big or small, that requires a lead domino to be knocked down to then hit that big dream. And again, it doesn't need to be massive. It doesn't need to be changing an entire global landscape culturally, but it could be something where you're actually making a change in your generational line. Maybe every single one of your family members before you, like your father and his father and his father, had addiction. Or maybe there's no one else in your family has ever gone to college and you're an immigrant. There's different things where it's like, I have a dream for myself. I have a dream for my family. I have a dream for my community, for my nation, for the world. However big our dreams are, so often there's a one thing. And for me, honestly, that one thing has been the quality and honoring of my mornings. When I can wake up in the morning and I can honor that time, it really is sacred. I went through a period of time where I was waking up at 4 a.m. every single morning for it was probably 4 or 5 months, every single day, 4 a.m. And man, it was like, I felt like I was on fire, because it was just me and God working together, I would get vertically aligned. When I say vertically aligned, what I mean by that is bringing my behaviors, my beliefs, my thoughts, my actions, every part of me has to come into alignment. We've got all these disparate parts. And so much of the time we're kind of acting out of alignment, where one day we're doing one thing, one day we're doing another thing, we're thinking one way. But when we can bring all of that into alignment, under the hierarchy of, this is who I want to be, this is what I feel called to do, and then beneath that is actually beneath a superordinate principle where it's like, okay, well, who does God say that I am? What has God called me to do? Why am I here? And so every part of me, I need to bring into alignment every day. And I can tell so much when I don't do that. It's easier to get upset, or it's easier to be kind of activated or triggered or annoyed. Little things. Today I was in the car with a friend and they kept getting angry at the traffic. Little things like that. When we're aligned, there's like a buffer. If we've got, okay, I hope I can do this visual right. I probably need to like draw this out or get it on a schematic or something. Imagine you're the nucleus and there's all these concentric circles around you. And you're the nucleus, and then the concentric circle out is family. The circle after that is maybe your work, and then circle out of that, maybe that's extended family, friends, etc. Your nucleus, imagine a vertical line inside of that nucleus. That vertical line, when we're literally aligned vertically, we're bringing everything into that hierarchical order. When our nucleus is that way, we actually have buffer. Like, look at all of that buffer surrounding in the nucleus, surrounding that vertical line. But if I'm not aligned, I've got all of these sporadic parts within my nucleus. And so if anything kind of comes in and touches my nucleus, it's going to touch a part of me. It's going to touch me emotionally or mentally or spiritually or physically. And I'm going to be that much easier to be triggered. But when I'm aligned, I have buffer to protect me because I've got like some extra cushion and extra padding in my nucleus where I'm not going to be as triggered or activated as easily. It's like when somebody does something that annoys us and we're playing the victim. Well, if we wouldn't have gotten triggered, that wouldn't have been a problem. We have so much power. There's always going to be stimulus. And then we have the ability to control and have the ability to choose our response. And so then the question is, okay, well, if I'm acting vertical, what is my desired response like, so that I actually, it's like when that thing comes in and threatens our nucleus, let's say, how much is actually kind of breaking through the nucleus and attacking us, and how much is actually getting to us? How vulnerable are we? How exposed are we? And so uh-oh. Us taking the time to get vertically aligned every day kind of pulls all of the bits and parts of us into safety, into alignment. And then we're protected by our values. We're protected by our alignment in and of itself, who we are, who we choose to be. It's like in the nucleus, in the alignment in the nucleus. That extra padding gives us the space and time to decide and choose how we're going to respond, rather than just, something comes in and pokes it and instantly we're activated, instantly we're sparked. It's like flint and stone. But if we're in the center, we actually have the padding that we need. And for me, I get padding through my morning alignment practice, which is waking up early, which is so often reading. For me, it's reading the Bible. For me, it's praying. For me, it's journaling. For me, it's listening to God. All of these different parts of the practice of vertical alignment. But the principle, there's always a principle and there's always a practice. With the principle, it is bringing myself, every part of me, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, into alignment under the hierarchy of who I want to be. What is my idea? What am I called to do? Why am I here? And then all of that is under the submission and superordinate principle of God. And so that physically, for me, that process of literally waking up in the morning, it's hard to do. And it makes all of the difference in my life when I am actually able to honor that time and really, really wake up. And so I would love to hear from you guys. What is your practice physically? What do you do? Daniel says, I'm usually still awake at 4 a.m. All right. I am going to, okay. I'm just looking through here for comments. Wayne says, it's amazing how your mind gets neurologically wired to past trauma and how hard it is to change patterns. Y'all, that is so, so true. This is why we do the work, to not be so easily triggered and not so easily activated, and to kind of undo those neurological wires. And it takes work, but there's reward on the other side. It's possible to undo that kind of neurological wiring. Y'all, just so you know, we're going to, when we start the Knowing community in the next couple of weeks, we are going to have, and actually I was given this advice by Brian. I don't know if you're on here, but he gave me the idea to just do a paid, where it's like $1, $5 or something, so that the comments are protected, because it's so important that we're able to actually make good headway and make progress as we're talking through here in the chat, and just like really kind of protecting everybody else and also me, so that I'm not distracted by some of the inappropriate comments. So I just wanted to make a comment about that, I'd love if you guys could kind of honor the space in the chat. I'm not married, but I still appreciate not being spoken to in certain ways. So I am going to put you guys on timeout if there's not a change here, just honestly, so that we can keep the integrity of the conversation. So back to the original conversation. All that to say, I'm so glad you're here, and I would love to actually really genuinely hear from you. Um, uh, okay, Wayne, physical, emotional, spiritual, and intellectual. Those are the 4 categories of intelligences that we're talking about right now. Louise, good to see you. Man in the Hat. People tend to work themselves to strive for something I don't understand. That impacted me. I only work to pay for the things I enjoy. I've lived a full life already. I'm only halfway through it. Ugh, what a good perspective. I've lived a full life already. I'm only halfway through it. I love that. Um, um, just looking through here. Chris says my chickens laid 23 eggs today. Good for you. I would love to have chickens. Alex, oh, thank you. He says that's beautiful. Puccini, good to see you. That's great advice. Thank you. Um, 2 Glock, you might just need therapy instead of God. I think you need both. I found both to be very, very meaningful. Robert, hello. Scott from Scotland, good to see you. Matthew, you wake up at 4 a.m. I'm getting back to that. March, I'm not traveling at all, and that's my goal to get back to that. Reynold, hello. J. Chris, hello. Good to see you. 2 o'clock, the Marines wake up at 4 for PT. Alex, principles and practice. I like that. Okay, good. All right, Puccinis comes in. I had asked the question of what is a practice that you have to really cultivate your physical intelligence, and Puccinis says, I like to meditate and sit with what is, and then listen to the wisdom of silence that always comes after the morning head noise. I love, love this. It is really, really interesting. One of the things, to your point about, listening, I don't allow myself to pick up my phone for at least, honestly, the ideal is 2 hours where I can really get into my vertical alignment and, to your point, meditate, sit with what is going on inside of me? What's going on in my head? And then after we almost get through that noise, then it's like we drop down. Somebody said this to me one time, and actually this was probably one of the most pivotal moments for me in my life. My friend said, Christine, I want you to move from here to here. And I had never, ever gotten that piece of advice before. But y'all, it's so true. When we drop from our head, like all that head noise, Puccini says it here, moving from all that head noise, all the noises, all the conversations, all the expectations from everybody else, and we drop here to our core, our soul. I think of our soul as the home of our emotions. It's like the core center of you and me. And man, that's if we want to live authentically, we have to be leading from this place. And then, we integrate our mind. The intellectual is so important, but there's different I guess you could say access points. Like the right hemisphere of our brain and our body is so different than the left. And we have to learn to cultivate that emotional self, and the stillness is like the window into our souls in so many ways. So I love that you said that. What a beautiful way that you stated this. Sit with what is, and then listen to the wisdom of silence that always comes after the morning head noise. That's so good. And I will say, y'all, the more that we can stay away from our phones first thing in the morning and truly honor the morning really is sacred in so many ways. And there's a freshness, when you walk outside and you hear the birds and there's the sun streaming through the trees and there's dew. It's a new day. It's like we get a choice over who we're going to be today. It's a fresh day. It's a new beginning. And there's only ever that one day. There's never going to be another February 26, 2026. What a gift this day is. And we get to live it, and what a blessing. There's so many people who don't get to live this day anymore. And so it's almost like to honor those who have gone before us. Someone actually said that a couple weeks ago. They were like, I want to honor my ancestors and live well. And that's a good reason. I just love that. Matthew, it's like exercising a muscle to not react and get angry. What a good way to put that. It's like exercising a muscle and not getting angry. Y'all, it's interesting, we go to the gym physically to work out, but we need to go to the gym emotionally, and we need to go to the gym like cognitively and spiritually, and work out the muscles. I love that you said that, Matthew. C. Martin Love, I agree. I'll be joining. Good. I'm so glad. I think you're talking about having some kind of, I guess you could say, like, membership where only the members can chat and comment, because it does get very distracting. Dr. Sven, hello. Sadhu, thank you. Thanks for coming on. J. Chris, oh, I'm so glad you guys are here. 2 Glock. I don't know. Shock says, what exactly is the topic? It's really about, when we talk about living like the top 1%, it's really about you and I accessing the top 1% for what that means for you and me. It's not a comparison game. It's not about how are other people living, but it's really about what would it look like if I was to really step into the fullness of who I am and the fullness of what it means for me to live at my highest potential, because you're worth it. Like, really, you and I are worth it. And it like honors our creator for the created to live in the fullness of its creation. So actually there's an honoring. There's like okay, I recognize that I'm not the most important being in the universe, that there's a higher superordinate being, God, like honoring God with my life and with my body and the way that I show up. And the way that I do that is for me, it's best when I'm integrating to the fullest potential my physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual self. And like all of that is active and online. And I went through a transformation where I wasn't living online. You said something, I think Man in the Hat, you said this, where it's like, okay, if I want to, how do you want to say it? Yeah, I think you said, start with spiritual intelligence and then cultivate the rest. I really did. I really did start with spiritual intelligence, and the rest of me was like I was almost like completely disassociated from it. And so to really live wholehearted in so many ways, it's learning how to turn and almost like come online, come alive, to bring those other parts of us online and really be able to live fully and integrated. Oh my gosh, Alex Algood says, that's just so beautiful. You said flowers to the creator, water us. Water us, water us. It sounds like that's a song, but that's a really, really beautiful. I've never heard of that. Patriot Watcher says, you and I are worth it. Worth what? You and I are worthy of living a full life, like of knowing ourselves and living to that top 1%. I think that there's a lot of times a worth issue, a self-worth issue, that kind of deep down, we don't actually believe we're worth it. We don't actually believe that we're loved. That's what I've seen and witnessed a lot of times, is that there's just like this very deep seated fear over not belonging and not being enough. And so the concept of us being worth it is something new for a lot of folks. So it's just a reminder we're worth it. So, okay, physical intelligence, waking up early. I love how you were talking earlier about like just not being on our phones and really meditating and sitting in the silence. That sitting in the silence, that taking up the space is so incredibly important to really take time to listen first thing. And there's a lot that our subconscious has to say. When we kind of come out of sleep, oh, this is the big one. This is something I learned only in the last couple of weeks that has really, really changed, like just on a physical intelligence level. It has helped me so much to sleep in 90-minute cycles, because that's how our sleep, we progress, but through light sleep, REM sleep, deep sleep, and we kind of go through this 90-minute curve and this 90-minute wave. And so to wake up kind of mid-cycle, you can just feel so drowsy and so heavy. And so I've started sleeping according to the 90-minute cycle, and that has made such a dramatic impact for me. So when it comes to physical intelligence, sometimes intelligence isn't just like, oh, what's the trauma that my body has been through, but like the intelligence is getting data. When have I felt the best? When do I not feel good? And so knowing the intelligent side, again, it doesn't mean that it's something deeply profound, but what it could mean is that you're actually living more intelligent about your body, about your mind, about your emotions, about your spirit, about your soul. And so being able to be intelligent, that's what we're talking about. It's like living as the top 1%. It's like, when have I felt the best? I'll move through what I call the known founder, and that's when I work with a founder directly. So this is different than the knowing retreat. I am hosting the knowing retreat at the end of March, but the known founder is just one-to-one. We dive really deep into like understanding the architect of who you are. And that's been so cool to see, because so many times in kind of looking at like the history of their life and looking at hallmark moments, we've neglected, we've negated, and even just forgotten those points that made us most healthy with relationships, with our physical body. And we've like stopped doing the things. There's a book called Good to Great by Jim Collins. And he talks about like, don't stop doing the things that got you too good in the first place. When you're trying to become a great company or a great person, don't stop doing the things that got you to a good company or a good person to begin with. Keep doing those things and add to it. Don't stop doing what works. And so much of actually looking to the past is really, really helpful to almost like derive that data and be like, oh, I forgot I did that thing. And that was really helpful for me at one time. So we don't want to forget that. And just coming back here to the chat, looking here. 𝐤𝐚𝐢𝐥𝐲 says, do you work? Oh, I definitely work. I have a branding and marketing business, and that is specifically for corporate and individuals who are looking to cultivate their personal brands. But I also have a digital marketing agency for trade companies. And then I'm also involved with my family trade company. We have a 100-year-old painting business. Okay, going back to the chat. The great one. Hello. Put your question for her in the chat and she will respond. Thank you. I will respond. Irene, thank you for joining. C. Martin Love, allow yourself the grace to be imperfect and human, reducing the need to appear perfect. That's so good. I love that. Man in the Hat. Yes, spiritually first, and some learning in yourself how to be vulnerable, but not allowing others to control your emotions in any way. You learn to have empathy, even for someone that cusses you out. Isn't that so true? It's so interesting. A friend of mine commented to me recently. They were like, when people are really, truly being like so unkind, just the more unkind they are, the louder the cry for love. And I thought that was such a beautiful perspective. So I love that you said that. I'm just looking down through here, through some more of the chat. Patriot Watcher, top 1% of what? The top 1% of effectively you, like being able to access your own top potential. Irene says sometimes you got to get dirty. It's so interesting, really being willing to do the work. And I had this moment where I feel like I looked in the mirror of myself for the first time, where I looked in my own mirror, and oh gosh, this was 4 years ago. Well, 5 years ago, actually, this summer. And it was right when my husband, honestly, I'll get dirty with you guys and take out my own trash, Irene, to your point. When my husband left, we had been married for 8.5 years. And when he left, I looked in the mirror for the first time. And I just knew in that moment, either I can look in the mirror and take full responsibility for every and any part that I played in this marriage ending, or I can be the victim and just be heartbroken and devastated forever. And really, really play that role of like, he left. I was betrayed. I was abandoned. I could play that role, or I could take full accountability. And so in taking responsibility and looking in the mirror, I saw that I had been living as a non-person. And, it's the most I just like that you said we have to get dirty. We have to be willing to look at the reality of the truth and how grim it is and gruesome, and it made me wanna, like, throw up, that kind of feeling of, like, just disgust, and that's genuinely how I felt. I told my therapist, I was like, "Well, no wonder he left. Who wants to be married to a non-person?" And just so much of me, I had been living for everybody else. Like, who do you want me to be? And not even who do you want me to be, but like, how do I make you happy? Like, that was my number one pursuit, was like trying to make him happy and make him love me and make his life beautiful and wonderful. But in so doing, I wasn't showing up. And so he was effectively kind of living with like a servant in some ways, just somebody who was like constantly kowtowing. And, there's a lot of reason. Well, he had three reasons why he left at the end of the day. And, I just think that you have to be willing to get dirty. I think that there's so much truth to that. And for so long as we're trying to keep this pious view of ourselves, and I had a pious view of myself, like I really did. I had never done anything wrong. I never got angry. I was like this, like kind of very like perfectly molded good person that never showed emotion and never like very rarely would I get upset, but I learned to shut down my emotions so that he would never have to deal with anything unpleasant. I just like was operating in this like happy little, like trying to be this perfect little wife, and people want authentic connection, and it goes both ways. It wasn't like he knew who he was either. And I saw what lack of emotional health did, and it just destroyed what I think could have been something really beautiful. And I still believe that. Like, I really, really do. I think that we take for granted when people really love us. And I really loved him. And I think the grass always looks greener on the other side, and all of the common tropes. But y'all, the thing is that I had never looked in the mirror. I was constantly looking to him. I was constantly looking to, how can I make your life better? How can I make you happy? How can you feel loved? And looking to my sister, because she had lost her husband and she had her 3-week-old baby girl, and I wanted to like love on them and take care of them. And then someone else very close to us was going through alcohol abuse, and so I was loving on them and taking care of them. And so I just it was like I was trying to be the doctor for everybody else, but I had yet to be the doctor for my own soul. And so that's a very scary place for any of us to be, loving on people and tending to them, but never doing the work to tend to ourselves. It's like the sick tending to the sick. Now that's better than my sister and her 3-week-old baby girl not having anybody, and granted there was other family around them, but like I'm grateful that I stepped in. I did and this is the thing where when we're looking at this question, how do I be the top 1%? So much of the time, like we're talking about the physical intelligence, but I want to actually move to the mental and emotional intelligence piece of this. Because for me to operate in my top 1% emotionally, I actually was doing the best I knew how. And as I started to learn new information, I began to integrate it and became more emotionally healthy. But here's what's funny. I knew for 4 years I needed to go to therapy, but I wanted to go with my husband, and he didn't want to go with me. And so I used that as my excuse for not taking care of myself and not healing from my brother-in-law being killed. And so for 4.5 years, I just like was withering inside and just so incredibly broken. And I never let myself heal because I assigned so much of my own pain to, well, my sister's the one who's been in more pain. My husband won't go with me. It was like there was a whole bunch of excuses. So when we're willing to look in the mirror and square off with the truth and the ugly, dirty truth and get messy with it, then the question is, okay, well, what am I going to see that needs to be changed so that I can start operating at that top 1% for myself? Again, it's not somebody else's 1%, it's yours and mine. And no one else can tell us what it is except for us. Sometimes we can have somebody, hold up the mirror and say, hey, look, but for so much of it, we'll never change unless we're willing to do so. I'm just looking here in the chat. Drew Young, I don't want to be top 1%, but value experiences and financial freedom over things. Again, I just want to make sure that I'm being so clear. It's not about the 1% of the world. It's your 1%. It's your own potential. And that, I love how you said you value experiences and financial freedom over things. I love that. That's your 1%. So then the question is, okay, well, how do you get there? Who do you need to be to get there? So Drew, I love that you said that because I agree with you. Brian, it's good to see you. I'm glad you're here. I brought you up earlier. Reflecting trees. Thank you for joining. Wayne, hurting people hurt people. Always have empathy and grace. So good. Oliver Moore, let's play a Q&A game. Let's play that soon. I want to get through some of these intelligences, but I love that idea. Let's do that. I'll probably wrap up here in the next like 5 minutes. User PP, I just saw your your comment. That's funny. Maybe we'll address that later. Drew, I will come back to your questions in just a few minutes. I just want to make sure I get through the comments and then we'll circle back. Just looking through here. Self-awareness, allowing you to know your core values and stand by them in everyday interactions. I love that. Comic Flick Fusion, hello. I'm so glad you're here. Taylor, thanks for joining us. Me Winkle, I would love if you wouldn't talk that way. I'd love for you to stay here, but we are gonna have to we just don't talk like that, so I'm gonna have to put you on timeout. All right, just looking down, speaking some more truth today. Radical acceptance. It's so interesting. It really is. There's really something around accepting. This is interesting. You brought up acceptance, and now I'm like wondering if we should go in this direction. Maybe we should go in it tomorrow. Y'all, this conversation, I think we'll do a part 2 tomorrow night because there's just so much. What I'd actually like to do, I'm going to take a moment, and I'd love to hear from you guys. I would love to hear from you over what is indicative for you of being emotionally healthy. You know, we were talking about emotional or physical health. Like, what does it look like for you to be operating at your peak physically? And I would love to hear, what does it look like for you to operate at your peak intellectually? Like, if you were to truly be in alignment and to really be operating at your top fullest potential, what does that look like? What does that sound like? So if you guys don't mind dropping that here in the chat, I would love to hear from you. Because frankly, I think each one of us has something to give each other. And so I'd really love to hear, for me, or just a quick recap on the physical side of things. What was talked about was waking up early, adhering to our habits, listening in the stillness. I loved that comment. Also, frankly, one of the biggest things was not getting on our phones first thing in the morning, but like really, really allowing for the silence and to just really be able to be quiet first thing in the morning. All right, just going back. Listening to your inner self, Zach. Stay disciplined, Tiger. Oh, so good. DJ, I don't know if you just joined, but when I talk about the 1%, I'm talking about your 1%. Like, what does it look like for you to live like the 1% of your own ability intellectually, emotionally, physically, spiritually? So we were talking about physical intelligence and like your 1%. What does that look like when you're operating in that level? And now I'm wondering emotionally for you guys, what does it look like for you to kind of be operating emotionally? I love how you said discipline. That's so good. I feel like I'm really learning discipline right now. That's like a new, that's a new one for me. I didn't grow up with a ton of discipline required in like our home. And so discipline is a new quality that I'm really seeking to learn. Understanding people and the way of life. You can calm yourself down, adapt to changing circumstances, and avoid getting hooked by difficult people or situations. That's good. That'd be huge for emotional navigation. To be honest, the work you do with emotions, Christine, is powerful. Emotions create love or hate, jealousy, happiness, depression. Oops, I just lost it. Fat people are disciplined, strong people. It changes the world. It's so interesting. It really, really is. I'm so grateful you said that. You know, Comic Flick just was effectively identifying how the emotional health just that's why I think of it so much as our core. Our intellectual mind, it's like our mind only has so much willpower. So much of us, we need to be harnessing and leveraging the emotion and the logic to work in concert with each other. Harvard found that 95% of our purchase decisions take place in our subconscious, which is where our emotions live. 95%. People are buying and making decisions emotionally, whether we like to admit it or not. And that's kind of like, frankly, that's just so mind-blowing to me that we just have never taken the time to cultivate that part of us, when really that's the part that like drives so much of our lives. That's the part that really, really makes such a big impact in the way that we live. Um, just going back here to the chat. Currently 2 a.m. for me now. I desperately need sleep, and I know that I have this urge to just keep scrolling. I'd love to start making a change to my habits and adhere. I love that, Fiat. Honestly, that's so honest, and I just really, really respect that. The waking up, the discipline side, again, that's something that I really need to grow in. I actually started a 61-day challenge for myself. Gosh, I think it was January 30th, of just doing one thing that I wanted to do every single day. I'm going to be doing it every kind of like, 61 days. Every quarter, I want to do a 61-day challenge. And I've gotten other people involved with me, and it's actually been really cool because there's something around having other people that really holds us accountable and keeps us in alignment. Like, I want to be this person. I want to live according to this. It's like Martin Luther King. I have a dream. He has this big dream. But if we don't know how to be disciplined, we need each other for our own sake. We need each other so that, yes, we can give and tell other people what we're learning, but also for the accountability so that we can really walk in the fullness of who we say we want to be and who we know we can be to fulfill the mission. Like, the mission is at stake. It's not just, oh, we're not going to be that 1% for ourselves, but it's like there's a mission. For those of you who know this story, there's a story in the Bible about this woman, and she's given this opportunity to go in and like save the lives of her people. And God like basically tells her, no problem. If you don't want to do it, I'll go find somebody else. And that's how I felt about my mission. I'm like, no, I want to do it, but I need to be willing to become the person that is necessary for that mission to be accomplished. And this is where community comes in. This is why we're actually gonna I'm gonna take advice that I've been given around the chat, Brian. This is why I brought you up earlier, just to make it so that there's, just pay like a couple dollars a month, and no one else can comment, because the comments really can become they can become so distracting and honestly really kind of disrupt the flow. Whereas if each one of us could hold each other accountable, and frankly, I want this community to be even bigger. I want to do in-person events. I want it to be where we see each other. Somebody even mentioned, I think Puccini said, what about an online knowing retreat? I'm going to be doing a knowing retreat at the end of March in person. But like, what if we did an online retreat where we just took a couple of days and did the work? Down better believe, Jesus fasted physically. I have experienced so much change in my own life when I fasted. And like, that can be something we do together. What do you want to break through in your life? Let's fast. Let's like get that kind of discipline going and orient our mind, body, soul, and spirit towards that thing that we feel called to. And man, breakthrough happens on the other side of that. The real definition of intention, like when I looked at the etymology of that, Middle English, I think it was Middle English, kind of like mid-century English, talked about intention as emotional, cognitive, physical. It's like getting all of us oriented towards that one thing. And that's kind of what fasting does. And that's what this challenge can do. It's like getting all of us oriented towards one goal, towards one target. And y'all, that's the power of knowing our mission and knowing what we're called to do. Brian says, dwelling on things out of my control is just too hard on myself. Yeah, learning a new path now. Oh, that's so good. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Here's another thing. when we talk about being in community together, and the craft and calling community is a community that I haven't started yet, but it's going to be specifically for men and women in the trades. And even this weekend, I'm hosting an event actually with my dad in our family business, and it's for leaders in the DC, Maryland area, and specifically with a trades bent. And the goal is that, frankly, we're taking time to connect, be in community with each other, and celebrate each other. Celebration is like a core ethos of our lives, and it should be, because when we do the work, there's something consciously where, like, that dopamine hit that we get from running a race and the other side of it, and that dopamine hit we even get from sugar. It's like if we can actually self-perpetuate our own dopamine hits, man, there's so much on the other side of that, where it's like we're actually really rewarding ourselves, and then our body knows, oh, let me do more of that thing, because look at the encouragement I just got from Christine or from Brian or from Michael, Turtle Biscuit Man, so it's like, are we actually being good stewards of our mission, of our bodies, of our minds, of our souls, by taking the time to self perpetuate the good behavior and really encourage ourselves? And what better thing than to do it for each other? So I just love that. Um, Fiat. Oh, I love this. Oh, you just made my day. Are you live every day? I feel at home here, knowing I can learn a thing or two about everyone, and most importantly, myself, to learn to discipline myself. Oh, man, that's so, so, so meaningful to hear. Yes, we are live every day. We go live actually every morning. We go live every morning. I aim for 9 a.m. Eastern. This morning I had a 9 a.m. breakfast. So I try to orient my life around the show, but I can only do so much sometimes. We go live every morning, 9 a.m. We go through A Course in Miracles, and that's kind of, you were mentioning earlier, like the going to the gym. Mentally, that's kind of what we do. We adhere to what's even more true than the old programs that my brain knows. What's even more true than my emotions. And so it's really putting new programs into place so that the data that our bodies know, we are able to adjust them and bring them, almost like update our systems and update our mental programs, even emotional programs too. And then in the evenings, we get on here, and sometimes I've got guests, sometimes it's just me, sometimes it's just us. Um, Lord Aragon, I prayed for you this morning. I think you said you had surgery today. How was your surgery? Um, I would love, love, love to hear. Comic Flick Fusion, before you go, before you go. Oh, I'm so grateful you're here. I honestly, guys, here's the thing that's so funny. I feel like I've got so many wonderful friends here. It was really funny this morning. We were on the Knowing Show, and I saw Wayne's name, but I didn't see many other people that I recognized. And I was like, oh, this is so weird. And it was because I was going live at 11:30. So Wayne, thank you for being there. Danny Bursch, good to see you. In a reality mindset, in a technology-based society, it's important to come back to a community concept and connection. Oh, thank God you said that. Yo, isn't that the truth? We need each other now more than ever. Everyone's got these AI companions. Yikes. Like, yeah. So, all that to say, I'm feeling super grateful for each one of you. Um, and y'all, I'm excited about what we're building. I feel so strongly about this, that you and I both, every single one of us, has the opportunity to make such a big impact in our communities. And so it's like, okay, how do I need to change? Who do I need to be? To love well. And it doesn't, again, this whole concept, I get kind of fascinated by people. And so I've loved the speech by Theodore Roosevelt, Citizens in the Republic in 1914. And then just yesterday, I had this amazing conversation with Kate. And then she brought up how Martin Luther had a dream, and he just was kind of operating at that higher level than so many of us. And so it's like, okay, who do I need to be in order to have even access? Sometimes it's like, okay, I need to actually eliminate the inputs, like literally the technology, like put it down and still myself long enough to be able to hear what's inside me. What have I actually tuned out and like numbed myself to emotionally, spiritually, physically, intellectually over all of these years that I need to like recover. And a lot of times there's our mission there, like our mission, man, and the things that we're called to and that are on our hearts. Um, I'm just looking back. Oh, okay, Lord Aragon, I'm so glad. I was thinking of you, so I'm so glad. He says, it was fine. Thanks for praying and asking. I'm so glad. Um, AJ, keep sticking to the program. Thank you. I love that. Bouquet, thank you. And this is actually a scarf. It's actually not a dress, although that would be a really pretty dress. I'm just looking through here. Suraj says, also, hi. Suraj says, I just got back from the gym, red room therapy, infrared light therapy, float tank therapy. Wow. What gym do you go to? I'm like, this is incredible. Jeez. Proco says, my question was how to improve my attitude and be less toxic for women as I'm struggling with lustful frustrations out of loneliness. I'm doing therapy, but it's not enough. Proco, that's honestly, thank you. Thank you for being so, I just feel like that's so vulnerable and so brave of you to say. And I really respect that. I think so many of us, loneliness, man, it can really, it's so hard. Again, people don't talk about this. They don't talk about what to do with loneliness or what to do with fear and what to do with, being hidden behind a screen and what to do for connection and community. So my question was how to improve my attitude and be less toxic for women as I'm struggling with lustful frustrations out of loneliness. I'm doing therapy, but it's not enough. One, I will say, and I really want to honor this question. And so I would ask for respectful comments in the chat. But I also would love to hear from others around this question of really maintaining, because one, I'm not a man. And so I know that there's going to be that aspect that I don't understand on the physical side. So I think that, guys, if you're up for it, Taylor says I'm lonely too. Like, guys, I would love if you guys are up for sharing here what has been helpful to you in the past. Proco by Dank, I hope that it's okay for me to do this. I'm gonna pin this because, y'all, this is kind of, we talked with somebody named Christopher a couple weeks ago around him losing his girlfriend and just like how devastated he was because she committed suicide. And it was like kind of a sacred conversation. And I feel like this is another one. So I ask for just so much respect. If there's not respect, I am gonna put you on timeout. All right, these are some of the responses that I'm seeing that I think is really, really meaningful. Look for more of an emotional connection as opposed to a physical one. Okay, I'm going to put some of you all on timeout because those comments are not helpful. Raheen, what is your name? My name's Christine. So some of these, no, Proco, I'm so glad for your question. Please do not apologize. I think that this is really, really honorable. Yeah, the man in the hat says it's not wrong, it's sincere. Brian C, letting go. You know what, Proconi, I'm sorry, Proco by Dank, send me your or just send me your address. I've been sending this book, Man in the Hat. I owe you this book. And Brian, you asked for the mug. Man in the Hat, you're getting this because you won trivia. But Proco by Dank, I'd love to send you this book, Letting Go by David Hawkins. That book has helped me so much. And I actually think that this could be really, really meaningful for you, kind of in a holistic way. Drew Young, I did gym too, barbell stuff, so good for stress. And oh my gosh, this is it. And I think this is actually affirmation. Sorry, I have like a couple different thoughts right now. I have a friend who has come on the Knowing Show once, and he is a men's coach. And he said this. I said, what is the number one most important thing for men? And he said, having a form of physical release for men is the way to access men's soul. And he talked about jujitsu. He said so many men have found jujitsu to be like the way to relieve stress. And I just love that, Drew Young says, I did the gym too. Barbell stuff, so good for stress. Um, I just think that that's so, so important, really being able to have a physical release beyond, beyond sexually. Um, uh, all right, I'm just looking if there's any more. I'm lonely, that's why I keep my peace. Modern women's 99% of the time don't know anything about a relationship. Um, DJ says, I need to know what he means by toxic and how it correlates to lust. Christopher Adams says, I've been contemplating therapy lately, but that's because I have never gone to one. I have several old wounds, not lust related, by the way, but never truly healed from all the parts of my life in the past. Man, y'all, I think that there's so much. I think that there's so much healing that can happen by way of sharing and not even just sharing. You know what? And I'll even say it's not even just healing. Today I was mentoring a young woman. She's in college, and so I'm mentoring her in a business capacity. She said it simply by talking to you and getting my ideas out, I'm able to see clearer. So there's something about speaking and talking that is so important to access those different parts of us, to be creative, to dream, to even like unlock what's been maybe buried for a while. Um, just scrolling down. Tiger, I love this. Tiger Track says, horrible place to be. You have a purpose. Pro Co by Dank. I'm just so grateful for this. What Tiger Track says, being able to really move into investing your energy in a different capacity than kind of that physical sexual energy. And like, how can you serve? How can you show up in a way that really loves people and gives? And like, what's your superpower? And really being able to harness that. When I say superpower, I actually genuinely mean like, what is your zone of genius? Could it be consulting? Is it, I don't know. Do you care a lot about the environment, like going out and I really actually am quite serious, going out and picking up the trash and I think Christopher Adams, you said feeding the ducks at your local pond. Do you have kids? Who are people that you can invest in? I think the more that we actually take that energy that we're kind of looking inward and turn it outward, and not sexually towards women, but like take that energy outward to serve and get tired doing good things. Get to be exhausted because you're going to jujitsu, and you're being exhausted by serving, and you're being exhausted by going to the homeless shelter and feeding they're serving food at the soup kitchen, and really expanding into a new way of loving and showing up in life, where you really are tapping into an energy maybe that you've never even done before, that you've never really like leaned into. I think about the greats who are known around the world, for being creative, for showing up and really like making an impact. And I think so much of the time it's because they have a purpose beyond themselves and beyond that moment, of like sexual intimacy or something like that. So yeah. I told Oliver that I would do a Q&A at the very, very end. I need to go to bed soon, so if you want to do like a question or two, I would love to answer. Zach, thank you for playing NSYNC the other night. That was so much fun. I had so much fun. So for those of you who are new, we're doing game night every Wednesday. So I'm really excited about that. And y'all, I will say, I'm hearing complaints from both sides, where I was talking to actually a client the other day. He's, in a trades company that is one of our clients. And he just mentioned off the cuff, he was like, no one's teaching women how to be wives and mothers these days. And I just like did a full stop, like, wow, you're so right. No one is teaching women how to show up. I mean, I modeled what I saw. It didn't work out. I modeled codependence. That was a poor choice, and so I've had to like reinvent, okay, what does it look like for me to be in a healthy relationship? Because frankly, I don't see a lot of healthy relationships. So I kind of have to go like invent that in some ways. Um, yeah, Lord Aragorn, I broke up with my at least 5 girlfriends because of their worldviews. I'm already doing fine economically, but all they see that how we can get more, encouraging for me for more, that's a red flag. Oh, interesting. Encouraging you for more is a red flag. Um, wow, Christopher, I can see answers to others' problems clear as crystal, but I'm blind as a bat with my own. I have to ask if there's something I'm missing. Honestly, that's so, so humble. That's so humble. I think that that's so beautiful, and I think that that's really, really important, and I'm grateful that you're willing to do that. Um, Proco says, "Yeah, I did martial arts and gym, but it does not fill the void of being invisible to women and the struggles of dealing." Um, oh man. Oh, Proco by Dank. I'm so, you know what? I gotta, I would love to send you this book. I really, really would. And guys, for those of you who are willing to, who want to or willing to join the Knowing community, we're going to be releasing it in the next couple of weeks. I would love to give you all my book Knowing as kind of part of the membership, and I'd love your feedback. I'd love to hear what's encouraging, what's not, and just get feedback. I don't know if I'll like make edits to it because frankly I need to be done with the edits, but I just would love to hear thoughts. And this process of knowing who I am really, really changed because I had been living so much for other people and so much for how other people could fill my void rather than realizing I actually am responsible for filling my own void. The more I'm outsourcing my worth, the more I'm outsourcing my joy, the more I'm outsourcing. I use this example of like literally, like we have this electrical socket and like we're looking to plug this into people and say, oh, you're going to fill my void today. Oh, you're going to fill my void. And then if people don't, we're left empty and we're left depressed and we're left sad and we're left discouraged and we're left feeling worthless. But the more we're actually able to be self-sourced and have a deeper, higher, it's like deeper and higher, like a higher purpose, deeper roots, that we're actually able to be vertical. And you know what, Proco, I don't know. These are all just pieces of advice. Verticalalignment.com. That is a 21-day series that I created just like as a present on my birthday. I did it as a present for you guys back in July. And there's 21 days of emails that you'll get, and it just takes you through the physical intelligence and kind of reconnecting with your body, and emotional intelligence, reconnecting with your emotion. And there's something in that process. So I'd love to send you the book Letting Go. So if you would send me a note, send me an email. I think it's on my YouTube, my email's there. So if you email me, I'd love to send that to you. But Letting Go has been so incredibly, incredibly meaningful. All right, y'all. I'm really, really, really excited to have you guys, and so grateful. And I'm excited too. There's just been so many good comments between each other. Brian, you gotta. This is it. You gotta love yourself first before you can love anyone else. Self-love. That's why I'd love. I'd love for you to restore that relationship with you, that void. If we're outsourcing it, it's going to be really, really hard for us to ever feel fulfilled because someone will always let us down. So long as we're looking for somebody else to kind of be that source of life, of love, of meaning, of purpose, we're always going to be let down. Drew, you mentioned codependency. How do you know if it's, I think you say, how do you know if it's an issue? Honestly, I think the more that your emotional well-being is tied to other people, the more that's a sign that you're codependent. It's like, I cannot be well if you're not well. I am needing you happy with me. I'm needing you happy in general. Um, it's like my emotions are tied to who you are and how you are. So that is probably the simplest way I would define codependency and what that looked like for me. Um, yeah. Guys, there's so much good. There's so much good here. Oh, Poochni, I love that. I would love a copy of your book. I'll definitely pay for it. Yay, thanks. Well, I'm not going to make you pay for it. I would love, honestly, I'm excited to have the Knowing community, and I would love for you guys to read it, um, and just kind of include that in the community. Um, Man in the Hat. It's tough to change if you do not know what you want to change. Y'all, this is part of looking in the mirror, like I will say one of the most important things that really helped me was journaling and taking the time to process what I'm thinking. I had never written. And so the more I wrote out and processed, it was like taking everything in here and in here and letting it come out. And then I could see it on paper and be like, ooh, that's dangerous, or oh, that's really good. And so much of, us coming to know ourselves is by our own doing. Reading books is great. Hearing other people's opinions is great, but you doing your work for you. No one can do that. It is only by your choice. Proco says, letting go by David Hawkins. And I'd love to send it. It would be my gift to you. But otherwise go order it on Amazon. If you listen to books, listen to it. I honestly have the audiobook and the physical book, and I've listened to both. Look, even this Tiger Tracks, can't help anybody until you know yourself. I love this. Chief, the medicine man, he may just need some therapy, may need to love himself more. All right. We got to love ourselves. I think that's so beautiful. Y'all, this is really, this is so beautiful. And this is why we come together. Man in the Hat says, I deal with loneliness in sim racing. I understand your escape. All right, y'all. Thank you all so much for joining. Oliver, if you're still here, I will totally answer a question. I told you I would. I don't know if you are, but if you are here, I'll totally answer a question. I'll hang on for another minute and then I got to go to bed. Feet, I'm so happy to have come across. Oh, I'm so happy to have come across you. It's like fate has brought me here, knowing I have ambition and determination to change myself for the better and discard my bad habits, yet no motivation. But being here with you in this wholesome chat gives me the hope and encouragement to differ from common habits and repetitive routineness. Thank you so much. Oh, y'all, thank you. Thank you guys so much for being willing to show up tonight, for being willing to be honest, for being willing to honestly be vulnerable. The answers, the questions that were shared, the answers that were shared, like, whew, it's really cool that we don't have to do life alone. Oh man, it's that in and of itself gives us hope. That we don't have to be alone, that we don't have to do it alone, that we can be in community with people who are just like us. Like, we're way more alike than we are separate. I love this. See Martin Love. Have a good night. Have a great night. Live with God and your world will be beautiful. I love this. The Man in the Hat says, glad you're here, Feet. I love it. All right. I don't see Oliver. I think Oliver's gone. So I'm going to go ahead and hop off. Y'all have a wonderful night. So grateful for each one of you. And what a good conversation. Thank you. I will be back on tomorrow morning, 9 a.m. Eastern for A Course in Miracles. And then again tomorrow night, normal time, 8:30 p.m. Y'all, I kind of want to do a part 2 of this conversation. There's a lot more. Look at my notes. I didn't get to go through all of them. So we have to do a part 2 tomorrow. But I'm so grateful for each one of you, and I will see you tomorrow. Good night. Good night, my friends. Sleep